Welcome back. Oh, well, there we go. Welcome back to another episode of Down the Rabbit Hole with Inspector Steve Nason. Today we're talking about wire glass use in the Canadian National Building Code. So let's just have a dive down in the rabbit hole and have a look at this wire glass issue. As you know, wire glass is common in schools, businesses, and hotels. It's primarily designed as a fire retardant or within a closure, a door or window as a closure. It keeps the windows, with that is the window is to stay intact and keeps fire at bay, protecting those from on the other side of the wire glass. So basically it's supposed to stay in place in case of fire. One of the myths that we have with wired glass is that it's strong, it's impact resistant, and all that. But in reality, wired glass only has half the strength of an ordinary glass, and that's due to the wire and the manufacturing process in there. So sometimes we get fooled saying, "Okay, that's a strong piece of glass due to the wire in there." No, all that wire does is basically try to keep the glass in place. In the case of it'll crack, whatever, but the wire's there to keep the glass in place. Now, there's two sides of this fence when it comes to wire glass. One of the sides is impact, and the other one is fire. So we'll have a look at the both sides of the fence and relationship to the National Building Code. Okay, when it comes to wire glass or either impact or fire, there's a couple standards. What they talk about is CAN CGSB 12.1 M wired safety glass. Okay, and the CGSB is Canadian General Standards Board. That's the acronym for it's Canadian General Standards Board, and that's the standard within that, and it has to conform with the M12.1 tempered or safety glass. So. All right, so those are the standards within the 210 building code, and I believe in the 215 code that they haven't changed. But as we go down, we'll find out some of the changes. Okay, in the 12.11 M standard, you'll find that it's treated as a tempered or wired safety glass. Okay. And it's supposed to be product marking. However, now we'll go to the next slide, and that standard has been withdrawn. Okay, so you can no longer have that standard in place. So if we go back here and look, this standard is no longer in existence. Okay, they've retired, they've withdrawn it, and we'll see why in a minute. Okay, so what they've replaced this with is they've replaced it with a CAN CSG 12.1 217, and have considered that safety glazing under monolithic monolithic wire glass is no longer a safety glazing. Okay, so basically they've taken the safety component out of that old standard, and that's why they retired it, because of the safety issues. And people believing that it is an impact or safety rated glass. So once again, that standard's gone. It's been replaced by this standard here, which no longer says that wire glass is a safety glass. Okay, so now we'll go down we'll look at the Part 9 of the National Building Code, and I believe the 210 and 215 are the same thing. Okay, they talk about this standard here again, right? But once again, this standard for laminated or safety glass is gone. Okay, so within this 9.6.14 standard, they talk about safety wire glass shall exceeds 0.5 millimeters. Okay, or 5.38 square feet, and the height exceeds to less than 900 millimeters from the bottom of the door. So that goes down here. Oh, what's that? Oop. Okay. So anyway, we'll go back. Oh, let's get back here. So once again, once that glass goes down there 0.9 millimeters from the door, excuse the hyperlink that popped up. I didn't remove it. So anyway, so that's the criteria for that. Okay, and they talk about part 3, okay? And once again, is transparent doors and glass conforming to, and they do have wired safety glass in there, as I said, as the old standard. So these talk about the window probably exceeds not less than 100 millimeters from above the floor and is located above the second story shall be protected by a barrier. Okay. Once again, these items deal with the impact rating of a glass. Okay, and we go back in there, and they say transparent door panels, and in there, and then they once again they talk about that standard shall be constructed of laminated or tempered glass, are conforming to this standard. So once again, all right. Okay. And once again, we talk about revolving doors, okay, and all that has to do with the safety. Then we go into the manufacturer's literature, okay. This is probably the telltale. They say wires glass is not safety rated and should not be used in high traffic areas. Likelihood of accidental contact is high, and impact glass will cause a break and cause severe cuts to the limbs. So that's a data sheet coming from the manufacturer, saying that hey, their product is not impact related. Okay, so now let's go down to wired safety glass part 9 and part 3 in a building. Okay, so let's just 9442 of fire separation that separates an exit from the remainder of the door shall have no openings except for. Okay, so once they say is a fire separation, as you building inspectors know that a fire separation exit from the remainder shall have no openings, right? Okay, except for those electrical. And that's a fire protection of exits, and wire glass and block is permitted within there. Okay. Okay, then we go to 943. They say applies to wire glass in side lights between an exit enclosure and floor areas. Okay, except for 3, it gives you some more exceptions. Okay, glass as a closure, which is perfectly allowable. Okay, so if you have a closure in a separation, you can put in wire glass. Okay, wire glass has not been tested in accordance. Okay, in wire glass in conformance with 9212. Okay, right there is the standard, has not been tested accordance to 91031. Okay, so shall be fire resistance rating is required in section for an element of a building such as shall be determined for conformance with methods as 3A1 in Appendix A or D. Wire glass is described in sentence 1 shall be mounted in fixed frames. They talk about all that and gives you a criteria on how this wire glass in there works. Temperature rise and area limits. I'm not going to get into that. I don't understand that, but there's temperature rise limits waived. Okay, so when we go into part 9, exit stairs, unprotected opening and exterior walls of buildings shall be protected with wire glass and frames or blocks conforming to 910.13.5 and 910.13.7 where, okay. So once again, is 5 is glass in a closure. Okay, that talks about wire glass has been used in conformance, and they just talk about the installation, okay? So that's okay. So wire glass, so we go into 3, okay? Wire glass, except for permitted by 16 and 17, separations shall be not more than an hour and shall be protected with fixed wire glass assemblies or block installed in conformance with. So this is the key with this one. When you say installed in conformance with NFPA, it's not to do with anything else but the installation of that product, okay? And so and then the wire glass assembly in 1 described in Appendix D is permitted to be enclosures without being tested according to 1. So basically, if it's installed as D, okay, it doesn't have to be fire tested. So that makes, because again, it's that closures and doors and all those things are tested, right? But wired glass does not have to be tested in the fire application only. Okay, so once we go down and look here, is that in accordance with sentence 1. So what do they tell us? Is that there's a testing method for doors, assemblies, testing method for windows and glass blocks. So they say that it doesn't have to be tested. Okay, just installed as per that. Okay, once again they talk about wire glass. This area limits for wire glass and block glass. The permission to include wire glass and block doors and fire shafts between exits does not permit the inclusions of items in area limits. Okay, so what they're talking about is the maximum, except for Article 17. Well, that'll be the next slide. The maximum area of wire glass in a door used in locations shall be conformed to the table. Okay, so let's just pop over to this table. Okay, so once again is that they give you an area, okay, fire protection, all right, and they talk about no limit of the size. Okay, so between a dead end quarter and adjacent. Okay, so they talk about between an exit enclosure, adjacent floor area, and a building not more than 3 stories. This is the maximum square meters of that. Okay, between an exit enclosure and an adjacent area, there's your there. So you can go through that and review that to see if that meets those. And then there's a D section here, and this is how it's supposed to be installed. And this is going to be used only for wired glass. Okay, so I'm not going to go down through it. It talks about all the installation methods for that. Okay, now there's a little bit of debate when we talk about fire doors and labeling of wired glass. And when I've looked at it, I know that NFP 80 talks about having only labeled glass and those things, glass and doors. But when it goes back into NFP 80, all we're concerned about is the installation of glass. So once again, wired glass does not have to be labeled as per any of the standards. And there is a bit of a testing has been done on wired glass. And once again, this is just another one of those safety bulletins that talks about wired glass. And the biggest thing, the biggest thing is to do is with wired glass is that remember that it's not impact rated. Okay, so wherever you have an impact situation, you shouldn't have wired glass. Okay, now I got this slide here. We've got laminated glass in vehicles, and it wasn't until 1915 until they started putting laminated safety glasses in vehicles. So I think that we have to, as inspectors, look at a situation and realize, okay, can wired glass be used there, or is there an impact situation? If there's an impact, I would be pushing for another type of glass in there, laminated glass, a laminated firelight, or there's other ceramic coatings out there, okay, within there. So now conclusion is side lights greater than side lights greater than 500 millimeters that could be mistaken for doors can be wired glass must meet. Okay, so again, as they talk about side lights, and that goes back to the impact rating. Okay, if the door exceeds the entrance to dwellings, public areas, it exceeds more than the size and less than from the floor, it must be safety or wire glass. Well, once again, is that it should be impact rated glass, not a wired glass. I've got a wired glass here on the slide, but it should be safety or laminated. Okay, so when it exceeds 900 millimeters from the bottom of the door, right, and it exceeds this size, so that's got all to do with the aspect. Wired glass and fire rated doors falls in non-tested could be used. The maximum wired glass is limited to 0.52, and however that must be done in exceeding As per Section D, wire glass assembly allows maximum size of non-fire tested glass to be used. However, a product must be tested when exceeding 0.5 meters squared. The wire glass area must conform with larger than 8.5 must conform to the product and NFPA standard. So once again, it's probably just a brief overview of wire glass. However, what I would look at is I would look at the size of the wire glass. I would look to see if the size exceeds it and if it's got to be tested or in accordance with NFP 80. So you should drill down that a little bit harder when you see wire glass being used and ask yourself some questions saying, A, is it impact? Is the size exceeded? And does it have to be labeled? So I don't know if that helps you out, but at least it gives you some food for thought. And we'll see you on the next episode of Down the Rabbit Hole. And thank you very much and have a great day.